Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who all learned this truth from the well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000 and the rest of the 1/3, the large multitude. Unto you I say shalom. Come to you back with another Let's Do the Spirit. And the title for this was going to be Esau will not rule forever. And who is Esau, Edom, spoken about in the scriptures, is the self-proclaimed white man, which he gave himself that name because there's really no such thing as a white nation or black nation or brown nation. These are all names that the white man has put upon all these different nations that really go back to the Bible, because there's 18 nations, but yet here this devil, Esau, Edom, the white man, he has put names on all these different nations upon the planet Earth. He calls the so-called Negroes black. He calls the Latinos brown. He calls the Chinese, or the Moabites, which are really the descendants of Lot. He calls them Chinese, Japanese, which really all these different nations go back to the scriptures. But yet this devil has put white on his nation, which really they're the Edomites, the descendants of Esau, which really they have the power to do that because ultimately they've been given that blessing by Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai through Isaac. Isaac gave him that temporary blessing to go around the earth and allow them to rule and take over the different nations, take over the different resources for a short period of time. But we know that his time of ruling upon the planet Earth is coming to an end very soon. By all the different prophecies that are taking place, all the signs that are pointing towards the end of the white man's rulership, which the whole earth is going to rejoice when he gets brought down, because he has done nothing but destroyed, robbed, pillaged, taking all these different resources, taking people as their livestock, as slaves for his own benefit, because really even his own people don't benefit. That's why you have a lot of homeless white people, which are really Edomites. Here you got his own people losing in his own kingdom. So that lets you know that he's selfish. He's not fit for rulership. He doesn't have a rulership mentality because he doesn't care about his people. Because back then, when the nation of Israel was at its peak, during the time of King Solomon and King David, the whole nation of Israel was eating. They were all well off. They all held their own garden and their own food, their own wealth. And even those who were less fortunate, we had a welfare system that whatever crops, vegetables were left behind, ultimately the ones who were less fortunate, they could, gather those vegetables, those fruits. But this devil over here, he throws away so much food. He's selfish, he's greedy, and he's not fit for rulership. And his time to rule upon the planet Earth is coming to an end very soon. This is Psalms chapter 49 and verse 11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. And that's what this devil, this white man, Esau, Edom, thinks. That he's never going to be brought down, that he's going to rule forever. That's why he's trying to gain immortality through digital means, through AI, through transhumanism, to try to live forever, to try to replicate the blessing that was given unto the nation of Israel. But we know that he's not going to do that, because just when he thinks that he's won, he has his feet kicked up, that's when Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is going to throw that monkey wrench and is going to spoil his plans. But first, he's going to let him establish his NWO, give them that thought that, okay, I've won. I got the whole world under my hand. I got everybody micro C hipped up. But ultimately, that's when Yahweh Bashmiel Shai is going to bring this devil down when he thinks that he's won. And ultimately you see who has gone out throughout the four corners of the earth and taken over these different nations and named them after their names. That's why even us, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all of our names are names of these devils. You got the Northern Kingdom, the so-called Latinos, the Spanish-speaking tribes. They have the last names of the Spanish conquistadors. Then you have the Southern Kingdom, the so-called Negroes. They got the last names of these, these English devils that came over here and brought the Southern Kingdom in the transatlantic slave trade. And then they name these different continents after themselves. So that lets you know who's really ruling up on the planet Earth. It's not the so-called Arab or the so-called the Japhet, and no, it's the white man, Esau, Edom. But his time to rule upon the planet Earth is coming to an end very soon. Because ultimately his blessing was only temporary. It wasn't eternal, unlike the blessing of the nation of Israel, which that blessing is eternal, which is going to be immortality. Esau, Edom's not going to gain immortality. His time to rule upon the planet Earth is almost up. This is Daniel chapter 4 and verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers and a demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and set it up over it the basis of all of men. And who's the basis of all men? Is the white man, Esau, Edom. If you was to take away all the different ways that he has to, clean himself. Here he has access to showers and the best forms of self-care, but he's still a dirty individual, When the Spanish conquistadors came over here, and you had the Northern Kingdom tribes, they said that this devil smells like goat, like he smells like a wet dog, and that's the truth, because really that's his true form, going around the earth without no clothes, the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch, that really goes back to Esau, Edom. And that's ultimately the so-called white man, because really his true form is just being a vagabond, going around the earth, just being a devil, a homeless. You see a homeless Edomite, he be bugged out and through. That's really how Esau, Edom, his true form is really like. That's why he wears the suits. He speaks with smooth words to try to sway our people to trust him. And it's worked. The suits has worked, the clean shaved face. But now the whole world is starting to wake up to the fact that he's really a devil. Those suits, those smooth words, they're not working anymore. The whole world is starting to wake up to the fact that this devil is a damn liar, that he's a deceiver. And his time to rule upon the planet Earth is coming to an end very soon. This is Job chapter 9 and verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? And who's a wicked? Who's a wicked elite that are ruling upon the planet Earth? Is these damn devils, these Amalekites, the small hats over there in the land of Israel that are calling themselves the true people, painting themselves to be the true Israelites, which they're not. They fit no prophecies. And then on top of that, you got them going around these different churches. These, pretty much took over the book. They painted themselves to be the true people. Painted over the images to make them look white, pale, blonde hair, blue eyes, which we know that's all bullshit. Because ultimately, the true people of the scriptures of the book of the Bible, the nation of Israel, is really the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, not no damn pasty, red people that can't even be out in the sun for longer than 10 minutes before they get burnt up. So that's really letting you know who is ruling up on the planet Earth. Whose face is on the money? Whose face is on a US dollar? It's the white man. So that's letting you know who's really in complete rulership of the entire earth. But now everybody's starting to wake up to the fact that he's really a liar. He's a deceiver. That he's really not who he's saying he is. And people are starting to wake up to the fact that the devil's a liar and a deceiver, and the whole world is investigating. They're putting that magnifying glass on him. Like, are you really saying who you are? Which people are starting to wake up to the fact that he's not, that he's really a damn devil. But his time of deceiving the entire earth is coming to an end very soon. And it's coming to an end now because that enchantment, that wine from Babylon, people are starting to wake up from that drunken state, especially these other nations. This is Revelation chapter 20 and verse 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And that's ultimately going into the bottomless pit. That's Europe. Because over there in Europe, it doesn't grow any vegetation, any crops. You can see the dirt over there, the soil is completely dry. It doesn't really allow for vegetation, for fruits, for vegetables to grow over there. You know, so that's not going into no hell where the devil is down there with a pitchfork, you know, torturing souls forever. No, that's ultimately going into a land. Verse 2, and he laid hold on a dragon, the old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. And that word devil, that's going into adversary. Who's the adversary of the nation of Israel? Who's that old serpent? That goes back to Cain, you know, which Esau, Edom, is Cain back in the regeneration and the reincarnation. And ultimately, Cain is going to receive his judgment in this reincarnation as Esau, Edom. You know, and Satan, who's the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan, is Esau, Edom, the white man, because you have three classifications of man. You have the sons of God, which are the nation of Israel, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Then you have the sons of men, which are the other nations, you know, the Chinese, the Africans, the Arabs, the Hawaiians, you know, whatever it may be. And then you got the third classification of men, which are the so-called white people, which are the sons of the wicked, the sons of Esau, Edom, the white man, the sons of Satan. And ultimately, when that Roman Empire fell around 300 AD, then that's when Jake took over during the Byzantine Empire. And that's when Esau, Edom got put into those caves, the white man. They got put into those Caucasus caves and were bound up for 1,000 years. You know, Jake wasn't letting them get out. And there's pictures on that, you know, where Jake is, you know, the so-called Moors is pushing them back with spears. You know, that's ultimately Esau, Edom bounded up for 1,000 years. What the white man would call is the Dark Ages, where he says for 1,000 years there was no recorded history. What a coincidence. Because that's ultimately when his devil was in chains for 1,000 years till it was his time to be let loose, like it says right here in verse 3, and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season. And he was shut up in that bottomless pit inside those caves in Europe, the Caucasus Mountains, for 1,000 years. But right around the 1400s, around the Renaissance period, when Esau, Edom, the white man, says, you know, somehow it was just a rebirth of everything. Pictures, you know, being painted white, being painted in his image, going back to Job 9 and 24. That's when he was loosed again to deceive the nations, into thinking that he's God, that he's the Most High, that the only begotten Son is a so-called white man, like in that image of Caesar Borgia, which is that infamous picture of Jesus Christ, who they ignorantly call Jesus Christ, which that's really not his true image. That's him going around the nation deceiving everybody, thinking that he's God and the only begotten Son, that they're white man. But his time of deceiving the nations is up. Everybody's waking up to the fact that he's a devil, and all these different nations are done dealing with this man. And knowing that's why he's starting to come down so hard on the northern kingdom, but eventually he's going to get to the point where he's going to come down on everybody, even including his own people. This is Revelation chapter 12 and verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time. And says, woe, destruction to the inhabitants of the earth. The majority of people upon the planet Earth, they want to stay here. They want Babylon the Great to continue. They want the white man to continue to rule so they could continue to do iniquity and sin on top of sin. But that's why Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is going to let 2/3 of our own people to be taken by this devil, because they want him to rule so bad. Okay, then shit, this is what's going to happen when you trust in the system and trust in the devil and want the white man to continue to rule. You're going to get taken by his sword. And that's why a lot of our own people, the 2/3, are going to get destroyed for wanting this devil to continue to rule upon the planet Earth instead of Jake taking over. So Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is going to let him. He's going to let him, be in that mindset of the white man to continue to rule. But also he's going to show him what happens when you trust in this devil. You get put to death. This is Sirach chapter 10 and verse 4. The power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. So Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is in complete control of who rules upon the planet Earth, because a lot of our people, they don't even know why the white man is ruling. Why they have complete control of the entire earth. That's a very, you could say, deep question, deep answer that our people have been looking for. But ultimately, the elect of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua are gonna find the answers, because even back in the world, before we came into this truth, we were always asking ourselves, damn, why are these wicked elite, these Rothschilds, have complete rulership of the entire earth? But the scriptures gave us all the answers, because ultimately it was given unto them by Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, by the Heavenly Father. He allowed them to rule upon the planet Earth, but only for a temporary time. And that's what a lot of our people that don't know about the truth don't get. They think that Esau Edom's going to rule forever, that he's going to have complete control of the entire earth for eternity. A lot of our own people, they're okay with that. They want to be under this devil. They want to be slaves. They want to be micro-C hipped up and robots and androids and be transformed into this new transhumanism agenda. But Yahweh Bashim Yahushua isn't with that. Yeah, he's going to let him establish his NWO, but only for a short period of time before he rains that great wrath on him. And that's something that a lot of our own people who don't know about the truth, and even Jake that knows that they're Israelites, they don't really believe in the prophecies that Esau Edom's going to get taken down and the nation of Israel is going to rule forever. And that's what we're looking forward to. We're looking forward to the nation of Israel ruling upon the planet Earth, because this devil, or the white man, he doesn't benefit anybody. He only benefits the wicked elite, the 1%, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, because even his own people are over here struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. A lot of them are homeless. Here you got Jake, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans doing better than the white man in his own kingdom. So that's letting you know that this damn devil isn't fit for rulership. He's not profitable, not even to his own people. I'm going to jump down to verse 8. Ecclesiasticus chapter 10 and verse 8. Because of unrighteousness, dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. And that's how he got complete rulership of the entire earth. Through injuries and riches guided by deceit. Here, a nation, in the eastern part of the world discovers gold, or maybe they discover oil. Here comes this devil knocking at the door. Hey, you need some democracy. You need this US dollar. You need our help. But ultimately, what is he there for? He's there for the resources. Coming in with the US military, establishing these different bases. Just like a couple decades ago, the war on terror in the Middle East. But what was really all that about? Taking all the different resources, the oil, the poppy plants, to fatten up his pockets. It wasn't to help them out. And that's ultimately why Yahweh Shema Shai is going to bring this devil down, because he has done nothing but destroyed, taken, just greedy as all hell, like it says in Habakkuk chapter 2. That thick clay, that depth. That's why Yahweh Shema Shai is about to bring this devil down and establish the nation of Israel upon the planet Earth, ruling upon the planet Earth in the kingdom of heaven, which is going to be here on Earth. It's not going to be in the heavens with floating baby Edomite angels with shooting arrows. No, it's going to be here upon the planet Earth, starting with Yahweh Shai, our Lord and Savior, King David, and the rest of the 144,000. Sticking our foot up these damn Edomites' ass for putting so much hell upon the nation of Israel. That's what they got coming. They got slavery. They got 1,000 long year hardcore slavery. And then after that, they're going to be done away with. They're going to be put in that fire, like it says in Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 18. That's going to be the end of the Edomites, the so-called white people. But that's pretty much the point. Pray that this is edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who are learning this truth from the well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000, the rest of the 1/3, the large multitude. Unto you I say shalom.